Oh, hello, hello, hello. Welcome in right here, Fantasy Life with you for the next couple of hours. We are so excited to be here, breaking everything down going into week 3. We've got a great show planned out on this Wednesday, Adam. We are talking with the one and only Matthew Berry here in a couple segments. We've got early rankings to go through. We've got everything, a little bit of news to hit off the top. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. Feels like every week is moving quickly at this point. It's
I know,
like
I
already
know. It's already
Wednesday. We got a
Wednesday.
game tomorrow. We got to
Uh,
finish waivers for our teams that didn't go through waivers yet. So, although I will say, this in the deeper leagues, this is
oh, it's
a
brutal.
dreadful week for the waiver
Brutal.
wire. I have a few leagues where I'm not even putting in a bid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I've
that
put
bad.
in it's bleak in those deeper formats. Those 20 round drafts that we did where we're like, "Oh, this is so fun. What a great exercise. What a great thing to do for the season." Wrong. I hope you don't need anyone off those because I needed someone. I think in one, I don't think they've gone through yet, but I'm probably not going to get anyone. It's brutal.
Yeah, look, it's tough. I understand there are people who need quarterbacks. That makes sense, right? You need a quarterback with the injuries that happened this week. We talked about running back, just not much available. We have not had a lot of injuries. And the one significant injury, Aaron Jones, well, Jordan Mason is rostered in every league because he was drafted. So, yeah, it's a tough week on waivers in the deeper formats. Like you're gonna acquire maybe a couple guys cheaply as lottery tickets and
Yeah.
hope they work out. That's basically what you're looking at.
I had someone in one of my leagues last night go pick up Jake Browning for the Cincinnati Bengals, the backup quarterback that we know is going to be playing for a little while. Didn't the thing is though, Adam, and this is more cutthroat. This I feel like is something you would do. Didn't necessarily need him though, because he had JJ McCarthy and then has another starter that he can play. But it's always so funny to look because they're like, I'm not going to let the Joe Burrow manager get someone that easily. And so I was like, wow, I wasn't.
And that's
I
a
don't do
one
that,
quarterback
but.
league.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I wouldn't do that
I don't
because
do that, but I
I'm
mean,
worried.
listen.
I'm worried about my roster. I'm trying to build the best roster for me. Now, late in the season, maybe playoffs, that's different. I think you can look at your opponents and, when you're down to 4 and maybe you're facing that team, if this were to happen in the postseason, then in that situation where your bench depth doesn't matter as much because you have your starters and the season's coming to an end, I could see doing it in that scenario and maybe
Mhm.
even pick up 3 quarterbacks to keep them away. But this early in the year, especially in a one quarterback league where you already have 2, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, brutal. But I like listen, some people have that the mindset, the mentality. They're like, I'm not gonna let my league mates get anything easy in this league. So I just said, okay, listen, it's not me. I think in one other league I tried to get because like you said, there's no one out there. I think I tried to pick up and they haven't gone through yet, but I put one bid on Tyquan Thornton and I'm not loving it anyways, but just to
Yeah,
just to see.
I do have him in a league or two. Yeah, he gets open deep,
Yeah,
and he had
but
that touchdown.
those they're not there. The explosive like nothing is there for the Chiefs. Remember what we said earlier in the offseason? We said, "Oh, this Chiefs team, it can look really good if they're able to stay healthy and get back, they can get back to their explosive ways if they stay healthy." And what are we working with now? I mean, Xavier Worthy wasn't there last week. Maybe he's going to be able to play this week. We still have a couple weeks left on Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice though is going to be really interesting to see when he comes back. Do you think like I was having this conversation yesterday. Could he be a league winner, in your opinion? If you drafted him, waited, and now he's going into this situation where the Chiefs just not only desperately need to win, but desperately just need to get back on track on offense.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people believe that when they were drafting him 5th, 6th round, because there were a lot of people who were like, "Why are people doing this? He's going to miss 6 games." But when you looked at what he did last year, and it was only 3 games, so you don't want to overrate it. But when you looked at that receiving core and the connection he had with Mahomes, you knew that he would come in and
Yeah.
just command a lot of targets. And boy, do they need him now more than ever. So they're fortunate, I think, to play the Giants on Sunday night as they look to get their first win. Because boy, if they started 0-3,
Man, when was the last time we saw that, if ever, with
it's
Mahomes?
I don't think that's ever happened. I
I
don't
don't
even
think
know if
so
they've
either.
started. Have they even started 0-2?
I can look. You're
Yeah,
making me
I
do
don't.
research
Yeah,
so
well,
early.
yeah,
I don't have it
look, I got
up.
to keep you on your toes. It's early. I got to make sure
Dang,
you don't
come
fall asleep
on.
during the show.
Come on. What about, let me ask you this one more thing about Rashee Rice, and then we'll move on to some of the injury news. We have to talk about Aaron Jones. If you're sitting at 2-0 right now, going into week 3, Are you potentially buying Rashee Rice from a team that desperately needs wide receivers, maybe a running back right now? Or are you sitting there saying, hey, I've got maybe a couple things that you need or want with some better players? Are you willing to buy him
Of course. I
or
mean,
sell? I don't
I was
know.
willing
Other
to
sell.
draft him. Well, so I think I do have Rice in a league where I started 0-2, but there's no trades in that league, so I'm just gonna hope to rebound, and total points matter in that format
Hmm.
as well. So, but yeah, you might find a team that's 0-2, and we know this. No matter what, there's a lot of panic in fantasy right now. You could just go look across social media, and people think their season is over at
Yes.
0-2. Oh, I have Brian Thomas and Nico Collins. I'm done. I hate fantasy football. This happens to me every year. It's like, calm down. It's only 2 weeks. You know how many teams have rebounded from 0-2, 0-3? I said I started a year 0-4 and won the fantasy championship. The key
Yeah.
is you got to realistically look at your roster and see what the issues are. And a lot of these players that have had 2 down weeks are going to rebound. We talked about it. You can go back and look at last year, and there's a lot of examples. I mean, Jamar Chase had no touchdowns after 2 weeks last year. Where did he finish? Terry McLaurin got off to a bad start last year, finished as one of the top receivers. So this happens every year. The first 2 weeks do not mean much of anything. Some of it is going to give us an idea of what could occur. And the other part of it is going to be, wow, those first 2 weeks were nothing. This guy
Yeah.
had 2 bad weeks and went on to have a great season. So you can take advantage of people panicking right now. And that's a great suggestion, because if you're in a trading league, you should be looking at the teams that are 0-2
Hmm.
and see what you can get from their roster, because there will be people panicking. I'm already
They're
getting
desperate.
people
Yeah.
asking me questions about, like, somebody just said I can get Brian Thomas for Chuba Hubbard. Like, I get it. It doesn't look good with Brian Thomas. It looked like he didn't want to take a hit, scared to go over the middle, and the wrist injury and everything. But like, this is the epitome of a buy low, because Brian
Yes.
Thomas was going late first, early second round. Had a great year last year. Unless you believe Trevor Lawrence and him, it's just not going to happen. But we could look back in a few weeks and go, wow, I cannot believe what people got Brian Thomas for. So it never feels good to buy low. That's why it's called a buy low. It's uncomfortable. You don't feel good doing it, right?
Hmm.
For a reason. So I think this is a good time, and even more after this week, because you'll see teams drop to 0-3, and then it's just, then their mindset is, I have to do something. And
Yeah.
in some instances, that's true. There are some times where your roster is good. Other times, it's just you've had bad luck. You've run into the highest scoring teams 3 weeks in a row. You've had a couple players underperform, but it's insane. Every year there is panic, and
Oh yeah.
those 0-2 teams, I would look at their roster and see, okay, what can I get from them? And especially this week, if a team that has Rashee Rice starts 0-3, you got to jump in.
Yeah, they're going to need production right away, and they're going to say, you know what, I just have to. I can't wait this long. That's the
Yeah.
thing that you look at. Jordan Addison is another, but he's coming back. So
But then the
he's coming.
quarterback situation too.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Maybe you
We'll
can buy
see. I
him
mean,
really. You
look,
could buy him really low. I mean, listen. What if who is it? Wentz?
Wentz, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we said it. What if what if Wentz goes out there
Look,
and just balls out? But
look, we've
yeah,
seen several veterans come in there in this offense with O'Connell and perform. I know McCarthy hasn't so far, but
the one
rookie,
guy we needed to
essentially a
come in and
rookie. I know
perform.
he's
Yeah.
not a rookie, but it's his first year playing, and it's not looked good so far. So maybe he's the one that breaks the O'Connell myth.
Yeah, shout out to Tim, our producer Tim. So the Chiefs have never had an 0-2 start, only 0-1 starts.
Under
And
Mahomes,
then
yeah, I figure that.
with Mahomes, and then when the Chiefs got their second loss in the Mahomes era, oh my gosh, these are crazy stats. Week 11 in 2018, week 6 in 2019, week 3 in 2021, week 8 in 2023. Those are just crazy numbers here.
Oh,
But
you
it's
forgive Tim now?
what? For what? Oh, for
Eh,
stirring me up. You know what? Listen, you guys know what you do before the show. I wish everyone could listen to the pre-show, us in the breaks, because guys, they'll just tell me, they'll be like, the Mariners stink.
We
Oh,
never
what's
said
no,
that.
I know, but you'll go, who's the MVP lead? And I'm like, oh, why don't you tell me? And it's just It's Aaron Judge and it's not Cal Raleigh, whatever. You guys know what you're doing. You guys know what you're doing. It's going to be a great day, though. And let me just say this one other stat with Brian Thomas Jr., too, because he is definitely a buy low. Dwayne McFarland came on here yesterday and said that he's been peppered with targets. I mean, he's got the targets. He's got everything there. He's got 127 and a half air yards per game. That's 46%. Like, he's got it all there. It just needs to come together. So a buy low situation for him. And then, yeah, maybe look at where Rashee Rice is in some of your leagues and see what that team is willing to give up for him, willing to take for him as well. A little bit of news that we got yesterday, unfortunate news though, because it was Aaron Jones getting placed on IR. So Minnesota Vikings running back Aaron Jones, we know that he went down with a hamstring injury in week 2, and Adam Schefter reported yesterday that they are going to place him on IR, which again, super unfortunate. We already know that when you're placed on IR, you are missing a minimum of 4 games, and maybe could be more, but we're just going to wait and see. Jordan Mason, Adam, we always say this, right? We never want injuries. We never wanted this to happen. No, what are you? I've never ever said that.
We have audio proof. I think don't put Tim to work again. He'll come up with it quickly.
I don't think I've ever said. No, I don't even think. I know I've never said that. I just said hopefully I don't have to write more waivers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. But get out of here. What's going on? I'll just go. I'm just gonna log off. Jordan Mason, though, what are your expectations with him? I mean, we talked about this. We said Aaron Jones going to be 31 years old in December. We know he's coming off a big workload again. So this wasn't necessarily an expectation, but we knew it was in the realm of possibilities with injuries to these older running backs. So for Jordan Mason managers now, I won't even say go check the waiver wire, Adam, because he was being drafted pretty early as a 1A, 1B situation to this Vikings backfield. So what are your expectations? And what do you think honestly, what do you think the workload looks like for Mason?
Oh, I think it's going to be a huge workload. I think he's going to get 15 to 20 touches. He's going to get most of it in the backfield. So, yeah, there was a league where I drafted Mason ahead of Aaron Jones. I know it kind of sounds crazy, especially since in PPR formats, you'd figure Aaron Jones would get more of the passing down work. But, yeah, I do expect Mason to really have a nice stretch here with Aaron Jones out. And again, the reason why they were drafted so close together is Minnesota told us the story by going out and trading for him and giving him $7 million guaranteed. And even O'Connell said in the preseason, 1A, 1B. And that's what we were seeing through the first 2 games. So this week against the Bengals, Mason's probably going to be I'm gonna check. I gotta look at the Fantasy Life early rankings, but I would think he's top 15, top 20 running back this week.
He has
top
to
15,
be, right?
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah, I mean,
I would think.
I would assume that he is. I'm looking up Aaron Jones. It's early, Adam. What are we doing here? Jeez. He is consensus RB17.
Okay, yeah.
Going up against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Look, in the leagues I have them, I've started in the first 2 weeks. I mean, they're pretty deep leagues, but now it's an easy lock to get in your lineup because there might be people out there more shallow formats where they didn't play Mason, where they drafted him. Maybe he was their RB4, and now you're looking at a situation this week where you're going to find a way to get him in your lineup.
Yeah, I've been starting him in the flex in some of my leagues just because he's done a little bit better than some of the receivers that I have to look at, some of the rookie running backs that we've talked about before. Like if you do have an RJ Harvey, a TreVeyon Henderson, hopefully you can go ahead and start. I know.
Yeah, I have a league where I think the TreVeyon teams, I can't bench them. I don't have better options. It's not good right now.
Yeah, I've got it. I need him to start. I need him to get going. I've got one where I can bench him, and it was for Jordan Mason. Some of the others, I'm just having to stick it out. It's not pretty right now. Let's just say that.
Yeah, what you do have to hope is that, the pass protection comes better. That was an issue last week. And what is insane is that usually we see the Pittsburgh defense as an opponent and we are scared. They have gotten shredded the first 2 weeks of the season on the ground.
Yeah, it's and Rhamondre Stevenson, for what it's worth, I mean, 21.2 points in week 2 against against the Miami Dolphins, but still he handled 65% of the snaps, 48% of the attempts, and had a 23% target share. Like for what it's worth, he's looked good these past couple weeks. Like he's not making it easy on TreVeyon Henderson or honestly the team, the organization, the coaches to be like, yeah, let me just give up this role. I mean, he's really hanging on and he's looking good while he's doing it too.
Yeah, it wasn't good week one, but much better against Miami. So that's the way to look at it too. If you're hoping for Henderson, you go, well, it's Miami and everyone goes off against Miami. But 5 catches for 88 yards for
Yes.
Stevenson, including a 55-yard reception. But I did see like an interview where Mike Vrabel said, yeah, that play we did in practice for TreVeyon Henderson and it
Oh,
fired the
great.
guys up. So
Great.
that could have
Thanks,
been Henderson and he
coach.
might have scored on it if it was him.
We'd be having such a better week if it was TreVeyon Henderson doing things like that. But we've got to be patient. These are still rookies. These are rookie fever. I do this every year, Adam. I'm like, look at that. Look at all these great rookies and what they could do. But Jordan Mason, just from some stats from last year, obviously different team, different situation. But when Christian McCaffrey missed those games, he looked good. He forced a missed tackle on a league high 37.3% of his carries on a minimum of 150 according to Next Gen Stats. And he led the NFL with 51 missed tackles forced in weeks 1 through 8. Again, different team, different situation. But if you have Jordan Mason, this is kind of why. Just to know that, hey, Aaron Jones is going to miss the next 4 weeks. He is definitely he really is to me in must start territory, RB17, or at least put him in your flex because he's going to give you some hopefully good fantasy production. There you go.
Yeah, I think we did talk about the. No, that was the Bengals schedule. That was tough. The
Yeah, the
Vikings
Bengals schedule
schedule.
coming up is
The
tough.
Vikings have the Bengals at home at the Steelers again. We thought the Steelers were a good defense. They haven't been the first 2 weeks.
No.
That could change. Then the Vikings are at the Browns. The Browns, oh my goodness, go look. It's 2 games, but they are not allowing anyone to run on them. They shut down the
Mm-mm.
Bengals in week one, and they shut down Derrick Henry and the Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson had 2 carries for 13 yards.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry had
brutal.
23 rushing yards. So the Browns' run defense through the first 2 weeks has been insane. And then they get the Eagles. So this is not the ideal stretch here for Jordan Mason. But still, you're going to run him out there. But yeah, the Eagles run defense, Browns run defense,
It's a little
not
tough.
good for
A little
Mason.
tough. It's a little tough, but you just have to weather the storm. You know what I mean for Jordan Mason and everything that could come with it. We're going to continue on here, Adam, because I want to make sure we get to everything we can before we talk to Matthew Berry. We're going to go through Stockwatch, presented by Premier National Sports. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? We're breaking it down. Coming up next. We sure do. We've got everything covered going into week 3. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Wednesday. Yep, confirmed. Wednesday. FantasyLife.com. Stop. Stop. It gets confusing sometimes.
Yeah, it's very.
FantasyLife.com. Let's get out of here. They all blend together at some point. I'm like, oh, okay, we got to figure it out. Rankings are updated for week 3 heading in. If you guys have early start sit questions for the Thursday night game, make sure you go over there. All of our tools also completely updated. Start sit projections, waiver wire. If yours haven't run, make sure you go check out my article, 100% free at FantasyLife.com, and use that code as always. SXM20 gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. We're doing Stockwatch here, Adam, presented by Premier National Sports. You've heard us talk about them before because they are just that great. If you or someone you know has a high school athlete and they are looking to take their game to the next level, Premier National Sports is the team to help you get through that entire process. They are able to be a trusted recruiting and NIL resource for high school athletes and their families. And they can take your game to the next level, or your cousin, your kid, whoever it is, with personalized recruiting strategies and NIL education. So check them out, premiernationalsports.com. I want to start with Jacory Croskey-Merritt. And again, I feel like the biggest question is expectations now that Austin Eckler, unfortunately, we know he had the Achilles injury, and so he's going to be out for the rest of the season. And so a lot of people going over to Jacory Croskey-Merritt and saying, okay, now this is the time where he's just going to explode. We know that they still have Chris Rodriguez. We know that they still have Jeremy McNichols. So that's the one thing I'm curious about, Adam, is who takes over what role? Is it going to be some kind of rotation? Because Austin Eckler, we know, was their pass catching running back who gets more of those targets, and everything else that he came with that he's leaving on the field, unfortunately, for the year. But we'll start with Bill Jacory Croskey-Merritt and your expectations for him going forward.
I think the stock is up, but how much is the question? Because they really have shied away from him so far,
Yeah.
and I don't know if they're going to use him much in the passing game. So it's going to come down to him breaking long runs, or does he get those goal line carries, or does Rodriguez get in the mix? So you feel better about him, no question about it now, because there should be more of an opportunity. But I'm not ready to just say, all right, I'm going to jam him in my lineup at this point. And I do have him in a few leagues. I started him and I guess I only have him 2 in redraft off the top of my head. I know I have him on a lot of best ball, but that was like rounds 15, 16 in July. But I don't think you're jamming him into your lineup. I think he moves up for sure. It really comes down to what you have, but I think this is a big week to see what they do in that backfield. With because we expect McNichols to play that Eckler role would be my guess.
That's what I was thinking, and that's why when I wrote them up in the waiver wire, that's kind of why I had him a little bit higher ahead. I know that they went and signed Chase Edmonds. I don't think that's well, here's the thing. I don't think right now that that's anything that we need to worry about. I thought when I saw that they signed Chase Edmonds, I thought that maybe he was the contingency plan in case McNichols got hurt. But listen, you never know in these situations. They shipped off Brian Robinson, and I think right now, Adam, they might be thinking, "Yikes, maybe maybe that shouldn't have happened." But yeah, I would think that McNichols would be the guy. But I've seen other ways around where it's Rodriguez for some other people.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. He's been inactive the first 2
I know.
games. I think it's going to be Bill getting the first shot to get the bulk of the touches, but we will see McNichols mixed in, and then I'm interested to see if Rodriguez is active and what his role is going to be, because we were hearing before the year that he could be the goal line back, and then
Mhm.
he didn't play the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, so he'll be active, activated, active, whatever it is for Chris Rodriguez, and yeah, Jeremy McNichols maybe in the passing game. And I don't know, but we'll see what it is. Stock is up though for Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Let's just see what it looks like this week, because truly it's one of those situations where we just have to wait and see, just like we did to start the season, of what JCM's role was going to be there. Quinshon Judkins, I know we're going to start getting a lot of questions on him, and I think they are very valid across just like all leagues, all platforms, because we knew that he was coming back, that he was going to be able to come back. We said, hey, don't give him the start last week, because we didn't know what the limited reps were going to look like or anything for him. And so the return of Quinshon Judkins is interesting because he handled 48% of the rushing attempts, and then he was able to score 10.1 fantasy points. So I don't know if we see a three-way committee continue for the immediate future. I don't think we do. But what do you think a role for Quinshon Judkins is this week? And is it big enough for you, Adam, to say, yeah, you can start him?
Well, this week he's going up against the Green Bay Packers, and what I have seen
Oh,
the first 2 weeks
no. Oh,
is
no.
you can't run on the Packers and you can't do much of anything. And with the Cleveland Browns offense, they came back down a little bit this past week against the Baltimore Ravens. So this week I'm concerned, and I would
Yeah.
probably look elsewhere. But long term, especially if you got him in the double-digit rounds, you have got to be feeling good, because I was stunned at how much he played, considering what a handful of practices,
Oh, yeah.
missed all of training camp. I was surprised because I forgot who the reporter was, but they said, "Oh, he's probably going to play the role of like a backup running back." Well, yeah, you said only 49% of the snaps, but it felt like he was touching the ball every time he was on the field. So for him to come out and do that, what was it, 10 carries, 61 yards, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, including a 30-yard run, caught all 3 of his targets. That was a really good sign. So I think Ford is the one who's eventually going to fall back. Dylan Sampson probably plays a role in the passing game. But yeah, this week, no, not against Green Bay.
Tough.
But long term, yeah, like Judkins, and I didn't get him anywhere because a lot of the
Really?
draft, yeah, it was just so in some of the early drafts, before the news, he was going pretty early, and then it just got to the point where I'm like, well, this guy has not signed. Is he going?
Hmm.
Remember,
No, I
he
get
could.
it.
That's the other thing. He could still be suspended. The
Hmm.
NFL is still investigating now. It might be what, 2 to 4 games. Not the
I
biggest deal,
I have no
but
idea.
say he plays this week, plays another week, and then a suspension comes. Now, right in the middle of the season, after just as you're gearing up and getting acclimated and getting in your football conditioning shape, now you can't practice. So
Hmm.
that is something to take into account. But pretty much we saw some drafts where he was going 10th, 11th, 12th round. And a lot of those picks, if you go look, they never pan out. Those are guys that you're cutting early in the season, or they're running back handcuffs that just stay on your bench all year. And this is a guy that could emerge. So definitely the stock is up.
Yeah, I shouldn't. I only got him in one redraft league, and it's the stacked league. And it was, I told you this. It was, I was on the clock with 5 minutes left, and we got that news that he was going to.
That's
It
that
was
good
just
Kendall
luck.
luck. Like
It
you
was
just
just
have
luck.
that good
I
luck.
know. It was, I just said, you know what? I'm going to take him here, second to last pick in that draft as well. So you wait and hold if you were able to get him, like you said, a little bit later. But I think he's expected. He's going to eventually take over the early down work. I think that's sooner rather than later. We just have to wait. Good call out though on Green Bay because that is gross. But that's just not a good matchup. But he is our RB 30 consensus so far this
Yeah,
week. Those
that's
change
where. Yeah, that's
those
where I
change a
put him.
lot through the week, but that's probably where he's to be honest going to stay here. Last I want to go stock up, stock down Travis Hunter. I've seen a couple questions, and again at K Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. We'll open up the phone lines here closer to the Fantasy Life water cooler, but you know, stock up, stock down. I feel like that's just the question, right? I think Dwayne wrote up a really good point when you go and look at the utilization report that he is more of a downgrade to wide receiver 5 just because of the playing time uncertainty. But they were, I mean, listen, they told us, they said, hey, this week in week 2, he is going to be more like he is just going to play more on defense, and that was the case here than what we saw in week 1. He doesn't really believe in the ADOT thing, the average depth to target stuff conversation that's been going on. But yeah, he did downgrade him, and I think we downgraded him in our rankings. So stock down for me. What about for you? Just a little bit though.
Yeah, look, I think they played him more on defense last week because they had an injury. So I think that's what happened there. I think also he needs to show the ability to get open downfield, and also we need Trevor Lawrence to play better. So it's a lot of factors. So yeah, Hunter is one of those players where I think there were some people who were very optimistic on him and others that were staying away. I did take a chance on him in one league, just in
Okay.
case he it did work out. And I also have a lot of Jags on that team too. So
Hey, there we go.
so
I
yeah,
know.
I think that team has not done well so far, but there's still time. There's still time with Travis Hunter. Because I think that was one of the things that we wanted to see, the ability to get open consistently. Because in college, remember, he's just so much better athletically than everyone else. And we did see him make a lot of contested catches in college, and
Mhm.
it's tougher to do that on the NFL level.
Exactly. So I'm right there with you, down a little bit, but hopefully we see it even out. I'm with you. I've got a team with so many Jacksonville Jaguars players that I looked around at the end of the draft and I said, huh. I'm not loving it, but we can get through it here, Adam. That was Stockwatch again, presented by Premier National Sports, the trusted recruiting and NIL resource for high school athletes and their families. Again, if you haven't checked them out, make sure you go and do that because they have personalized recruiting strategies and NIL education that you need to check out. PremierNationalSports.com is where you can go. We're going to talk with Matthew Berry, see what his thoughts are on just some of these backup quarterbacks coming into play, what his expectations are for week 3. We're going to do it coming up next. This is Fantasy Life right here. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Wednesday. And we have the one and only Matthew Berry joining us right now to break down a little bit of week 3 and his expectations. Matthew, welcome in. How you doing today? What's going on?
Oh, how you doing?
Good. You were you able, did all your quarterbacks survive the week, or did you have to go hit the waiver wire and try and pick up a Jake Browning, pick up a Daniel Jones? How are your quarterbacks doing?
Yeah, not great. If I'm being honest with you, I mean, listen, Kendall. I'm in 32 leagues, and so that's first off way too many for the kids listening out there. It's way too many. Don't do this. It's a terrible curse. But the other thing that I'll say is that when you're in that many leagues, you have, I lost Joe Burrow in a couple. I've got a lot of Jayden Daniels and Justin Fields this year, so I'm waiting on pins and needles to see what happens with that. I don't have a ton of J.J. McCarthy, so I'm okay there. But, yes, for sure, definitely went to the waiver wire. I'm in a lot of leagues where Daniel Jones was drafted
Wow.
because I do a lot of super flex. I don't do a lot of one quarterback leagues. So, so it's, nothing says week 3 like hoping you get Marcus Mariota on the waiver wire.
It's sick and twisted. Let's just say that. But that's why we love it, Matthew. That's why we keep coming back. So for everyone that did go out maybe and get a Jake Browning, we can start there for the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, Joe Burrow looking like he's going to be out minimum 3 months for that team. What are your expectations? Did you downgrade at all? T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. What do you think Jake Browning can hopefully bring to our fantasy teams? And just overall, what do you think for the week?
I think he's going to be fine. I think, is he as good as Joe Burrow? No, he's not. And you wish it was a kind of a softer matchup than Minnesota, which I still think is a pretty good defense. All that said, in the 7 games that Browning started in 2023 for Burrow, he was quarterback 7 on a points per game basis. He averaged over 260 passing yards a game. He did have 3 rushing touchdowns during that stretch. He had 12 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. But I think that's about right. I mean, you think about this game against Jacksonville last week. He threw a couple of picks, but he also, jumped in the end zone once. And ultimately, Jamar Chase had a huge game. T. Higgins got in the end zone. I think they'll be fine. I would downgrade them a little bit. I have Chase as a lower-end wide receiver 1 as opposed to the number 1 wide receiver. I have Higgins more of a lower-end wide receiver 2 than the, borderline wide receiver 1-2 that he was drafted as. Just because, again, go back to that 7-game sample. Both guys, Jamar Chase averaged about 14 points with Browning. T. Higgins averaged a little over 12. So, you downgrade him a little bit because he's not as good as Brandon's not as good as Burrow, but he's been in the system a long time. It's still going to be a pass-first offense. It's going to be one of the higher offenses in terms of pass rate over expected. It's still going to be a terrible defense where they're going to be in game script and having to throw. So I do think Browning should have been a priority on the waiver wire this week. And, I would not panic sell any of my Bengals offensive skill players.
A lot of receivers that have been drafted in the first couple rounds have struggled. Of course, Brian Thomas has dominated those conversations. But what about Nico Collins? Through 2 games, 14 targets, 6 catches, 77 yards and a touchdown. And we've seen that Texans offensive line be bad once again. Is there any concern for Nico Collins, or do you think it will get better for him too?
Can I say just yes to both? Is there concern for Nico Collins? Of course. I think this offense, Houston's offense looks terrible. Looks worse than it did last year, they replaced the guy last year. I agree with you, Adam. I think the offensive line is very shaky. C.J. Stroud looks like he's taken another step back. Kind of looks like he has the yips. He doesn't trust that line. But I also do. I think it gets better for Nico Collins. I do, because the Texans can't be happy with how their offense looks right now. 2 games of the season, so they have to look around. I am sure DeMeco Ryans is talking to his staff and saying, guys, we don't have much here. Get Nico Collins the ball. We have to figure out a way to get him more. There's been so much made of it this week in the media. I actually think things will get better for Nico starting this week. You can't look at that offensive line and not be a little bit concerned, but they're playing the Jaguars this week, so I do think that helps the matters as well. Nico should ultimately still be fine at the end of the day.
Talking with Matthew Berry here. Matthew, I hope you can say maybe the same thing for TreVeyon Henderson, RJ Harvey. I know that when we had Dwayne McFarland on yesterday and he broke it down from the utilization report, which is live at fantasylife.com, that he just said, listen, we have to be patient, but you just might have to bench them unless you don't have better options. I'm hoping you say nice things about them for, the future. And if you do have to bench them, you just have to be more patient with them. What have you seen so far with them over the last couple of weeks?
Dwayne's a really smart guy, and so I agree with that analysis, but I'm not starting either guy this week in terms of TreVeyon Henderson or RJ Harvey. Do we think they have talent? Yes. Do we think they'll get better? Yes. But the fact that TreVeyon Henderson had 3 holding penalties against and shout out JJ Zachariason who pointed that out. So shout out to our friend JJ. But, TreVeyon Henderson, who had 3 holding penalties and then got benched, and they went forward with Rhamondre, who I thought, by the way, the eye test just looked good.
Yeah.
Looked like, sort of classic Rhamondre Stevenson. I just think there's, in RJ Harvey, we've talked about this since the preseason, that his pass protection is not up to snuff, and that especially in an offense that Sean Payton runs, you're just not going to get on the field very much if you can't do all three phases. And so the fact that they have a veteran in J.K. Dobbins, or in the Patriots' case, Stevenson, who they trust in pass protection, is concerning for the immediate fantasy value of both those guys. Yes, I would have Henderson and Harvey on my bench until we see it. I'm not dropping them. I do ultimately believe in the upside of their talent, but I don't think you're going to suddenly see them be a top 15 guy, top 20 guy in week 3, week 4, week 5. Like, I think it's going to take a little while for them to earn back the trust of their coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Zay Flowers has been good his first 2 years, but just hasn't jumped into the top 20 receivers, partly because the Ravens don't pass a lot and the lack of touchdowns. He's off to a fast start. Is this a Zay Flowers breakout season, or do you see similar numbers to his first 2 years?
Yeah, I'm going to say similar but slightly elevated numbers to his first 2 years. I agree with you, Adam. He's looked awesome so far, and he's clearly kind of the alpha number one wide receiver. I think this stabilizes a little bit. There's a couple things going on here. Isaiah likely isn't back yet. It just, with Mark Andrews, you think back to that first game against the Bills where 81 points were scored, and Mark Andrews got 1 target for 5 yards.
Yeah.
He's just not a part of the passing game at all, and I don't know why that is, unless they just sort of think he's done. And so I think when Likely gets there, maybe he takes a little bit of target share away. The other thing about Flowers is just he's not a big – and the last thing is, before we move off with that game skewed everything, from both, especially from the Bills side, but just the Ravens as well. I mean, again, 81 points were scored in that first week. So all the numbers were sort of skewed there. I will say, so breakout on Zay Flowers, sure. Like, he looks better. It's another year in this system. He's on a team with, arguably the best quarterback in the game. But he's never been a huge touchdown scorer. And I don't think that suddenly starts this year, where we suddenly see double-digit touchdowns from him, where 12, again, they've got Derrick Henry, they've got DeAndre Hopkins, which they've used as a weapon in the red zone. And then, it's the freaking Ravens. So it's like, Tylan Wallace has caught one. And so you just, I don't know. So breakout in terms of better than last year, yes. Are we drafting him in the top 10 next year? I don't think so.
All right, Matthew, last one before we let you go. Have to ask about your Washington Commanders here, losing Austin Eckler for the season. Just what you think this backfield is now going to look like. Obviously, we talked about this, saying maybe stock up a little bit for Jacory, Croskey-Merritt, but how do you see Chris Rodriguez or Jeremy McNichols getting more involved now?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key, right? I think they all do. I think, as we talk about sort of pass protection, I still think it's going to be a three-headed monster. Chris Rodriguez, who's been a healthy scratch, will be active. They like Jeremy McNichols in pass protection and in the passing game. And so I don't think they changed their offense that much. My expectation is that Bill Croskey-Merritt becomes the head of a three-headed committee. He'll be the highest-ranked commander that I have ranked when you go to my rankings on NBCSports.com or rotoworld.com. He's the highest one I have. But it's still going to be a three-headed monster, at least until Croskey-Merritt can sort of, no pun intended, run away with his job. But all three guys are going to be involved. For our purposes, I think Croskey-Merritt's the only one you're going to want to start. But I think in deeper leagues, obviously, if they're still available, McNichols and Rodriguez, in that order, should be rostered in case one of them pops. Because I don't think it's all going to JCM.
Awesome, Matthew. Well, we appreciate it, as always, you hanging out with us every single Wednesday. So we hope you have a good week 3, and we'll get to talk to you next week.
Appreciate that, Kendall. And everyone go to fantasylife.com and sign up for our free newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
I send out a newsletter every single day with the help of all of my Fantasy Life friends. 100% free. It's a quick 5-minute read. It's awesome. fantasylife.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it. And again, you can use the code SXM20 if you're going to fantasylife.com and you're looking at maybe tier 1, tier 2 subscriptions. That gets you 20% off one of those. So make sure you go and check that out. Want to give our final shout outs from week 2, some guys that really just kind of exceeded expectations. And if we think that they can do it again going into week 3, we're talking a little bit more about Devontae Adams, Tucker Kraft. We've got big names talking about coming up next. We're giving our final shout outs for week 2 because we just need a little bit of positivity here, Adam. We've got, I mean, all the quarterbacks are going down. We've got questions on the rookie running backs, but some of these guys, if you have them on your teams, you're just happy. You're just a happy fantasy manager, especially when we're talking about Tucker Kraft. Just a shout out to him. I know he played that Thursday night game, so it's been a little bit since we talked about him, but he leads the Packers in route participation, 81%, and target share with 21%. And just his utilization is so good. And it's the thing that we talked about in the offseason where we liked Tucker Kraft. And I said, listen, if he gets more of those opportunities, that's the thing. Like, he just did not have the target share last season. There could have been more. And I thought there was more left on the bone when we looked at Tucker Kraft as well. But now Jayden Reed, unfortunately, looks out. So they said he's out now indefinitely because I saw that tweet at him. He actually went through and did the collarbone surgery, but he also got a foot surgery as well. That was confirmed, I think, yesterday. So I know the expected timeline is 6 to 8 weeks, but it's more now of a wait and see situation. But for Tucker Kraft, I think he was in my top 5 last week, and I think he's going to stay top 5, top 6 rest of the way.
Yeah, I did rest of the season rankings on fantasylife.com,
Nice.
so you could check it out now. Kraft is really high, and I think he's their number one target now. And if you remember the last draft that we did together, I was like, how the hell did Tucker Kraft last where he did? And the only reason why I didn't take him in that league is I took Tyler Warren at 8-10. Tucker Kraft went 13-5 in that league.
Yep.
And I told you, I was like, what is going on? And the only reason why I didn't take him that round is I needed a quarterback. I waited until round 13, and I was like, I can't push quarterback again because you know how it is. People start taking their second. So I did get Kraft in a couple leagues, and if you have him, you're really excited right now because he was going outside by borderline top 12, depending on what league you were in.
Yeah.
But you were getting him more often than not, like round 10, 11. And whenever you get a tight end in those rounds, that comes through. Now, it's only 2 weeks. But the bottom line is they have to get him the ball. I mean, they see it. I mean, he's so good after the catch. You have to feel great right now. It is concerning. They still spread the ball around, but I think they're going to make it a point to get Kraft the ball more because of what he has been doing after the catch. And now with Jayden Reed out, he's the go-to guy, I believe, for Green Bay. And there probably will be weeks where, like most tight ends, 3 for 38, and you'll be like, here we go. But I think more often than not, you're going to see him be the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's averaging 9.1 yards after the catch, which is second in the NFL. We said that before, he's a yak monster, and 17.5 yards per reception. So for this team, I think they need to rely on him too. That's the other part. You said it, but with Jayden Reed out, with Matthew Golden not yet getting that chemistry, and I'm really just sitting here hoping at him, not only just for my shares of it, but it feels like Matthew Golden, there were a couple opportunities last week that we saw underthrown, overthrown. I think once that chemistry and just the trust gets built between him and Jordan Love, I think it can help him. But right now, Tucker Kraft, you're just really happy about it. I'm so mad too, Adam, because I told you I was going into the my redraft. The hardest league that I do is with my college buddies because it's just so random. And I said the whole time, I'm just gonna wait on a tight end, and I'm gonna take Tucker Kraft. And I got greedy, and I forgot I was in a league with someone from Green Bay. And so I look around and I'm like, wow, where is Tucker Kraft? And he was taken rounds earlier than I expected. And it was just, then the team name is based around Tucker Kraft. I was like, oh, come on. I needed to be better there. I needed to know.
That's the worst when you have those targets that you really want and they go a little bit earlier. I will say this, the one concern for Green Bay's offense is this defense has been so good. Does that limit the offense? Now, the first 2 weeks, okay, Detroit's a good team, but they dominated that game. It was 27-13. Even the game against the Commanders, they were in control the whole way. If you look at their schedule upcoming at Cleveland, now their defense is pretty good. Again, their run defense has been phenomenal. So I'm interested to see them match up against Jacobs, but that's a game you would expect them to be in control. Then they're at Dallas. We know what the storyline is that night. So and then they're home to the Bengals. So that's a stretch where maybe they are in control and the offense doesn't do as much, especially if the defense creates turnovers. So that's just the one thing that you're a little worried about. Again, it's 2 games, but so far that defense has looked really good.
Oh, their defense is phenomenal. They've given up just 238 yards, 15.5 points per game. 15.5 points per game. And it hasn't been like it's not been the Miami Dolphins, you know what
Yeah,
I
it's
mean? It
been the
hasn't been the
Lions
Dolphins.
and
It's been the Lions and like you said, the
and
Commanders.
then with Jayden Daniels. So
It's
yeah,
shock.
they've
Well, it's not shocking, but it's just like wow.
both those games were at home, so now they're on the road for the next two. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Against Dallas, though, they should be able to do what they want with the way that
Yeah.
Cowboys defense has looked so far. Then they just cannot get any pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, it's they've been phenomenal, and it's just been one of those things. That'll be a fun game. Maybe
No,
not
it
for
won't.
you,
No,
but
no,
for
it will
I'm
not be
sorry.
fun. It
I'm
will not.
sorry. I mean, yeah, they're going to oof, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
there'll be a
sorry.
lot of people taking Parsons for 2, 3, 4 sacks in that game.
Yeah, probably. To be totally honest, probably. But it'll be fun for me. I have no stakes in it, so brutal. That must be sad.
It
Anyways,
is.
I'm
It is.
sorry.
But that sums up being a Cowboys fan the last 30
Yeah,
years.
you weren't
Sad.
shocked. I mean, you weren't shocked when it happened. I think well, no, you were kind of shocked.
A
I
little
don't
bit,
think it
yeah.
was. Yeah, I was shocked too, though. I thought they were going to get it done. You know, like they played that Thursday night game. I thought maybe Thursday morning it was going to get done, but here we are talking about the Packers taking on the Cowboys in a couple weeks with Micah Parsons over there. Crazy how things change. We're going to the water cooler. You know what time it is. Call us in. We're going through the news and notes you need to know here. Coming up next. Oh, it is time for that Fantasy Life Water Cooler. One of our favorite times of the day because we are breaking down all the news that we've seen come across since our last show. And we also get to talk to you guys. So if you have any questions for us at all, make sure you give us a call, 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call-in button on the SiriusXM app. If you're at work or doing something else right now, you still have questions, though, we are over there on Twitter, on X, at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis. So we'll be looking through those throughout the remainder of the show and try to get to as many as we can going through the water cooler. And as always, you guys know I always have to tell you about fantasylife.com. Matthew Berry said it best. Go. It's the best newsletter out there in your inbox 7 days a week, 100% free. So make sure you go and sign up for that. And then we've got all of our tools for you to continue dominating and get through week 3. We've got our rankings that are updated and loaded here for week 3. We've got our projections, rest of season rankings from the one and only Adam Ronis here. And just like I said, all the tools, projections, waiver wire, trade analyzer, start sit tool, everything you need. So make sure you go over there, use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off at checkout for tier 1 or tier 2. And we're breaking it down, Adam. People are calling in. We're ready to go. It's a great Wednesday. The biggest piece of news of all is that Adam Schefter just tweeted that the NFL announced that it is entering a multi-year deal with Crocs. Oh yeah. Yeah,
You're
he even
thrilled
put a
about
graphic.
this. Yeah, I
He even put a
see.
graphic out there for it. That's big.
I
More
thought you were
information
going to
than we
deliver
needed.
some other big news.
No, why? What did you see? Is there something else
Uh,
that I missed?
yeah, Stephon Diggs and
Oh.
Cardi B. Cardi
What?
B is pregnant with Stephon Diggs'
Oh,
baby.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't
wow.
see
Look
that?
at the pop culture crossover. No,
Yeah.
had no clue. Look
Okay.
at that. No, not the news. I was more excited about the Crocs, to be
Okay.
totally honest. I don't
Crocs
own a pair
over
of
a
Crocs.
baby. Interesting.
Well, come on. What are we doing here? I didn't even know. Get out of here. You're telling people I root for injuries. Get out. Come on, Crocs. I'm sure you own like multiple pairs.
I do not.
Huh. If you had Cowboys Crocs, would you own multiple pairs?
Probably not. I have enough
Okay.
cowboy stuff, and it always leads to people making fun of you when you're out in
Aw.
public and saying things. So, yeah.
That's kind of sad. But yeah, it needs to happen. I might get some Crocs then. Some Seahawks Crocs? I've never
Yeah,
had any.
do
I've
it.
heard they're very comfy. Anyways,
Well,
do we
do it and let us know.
all right. Unless they're like, how much do you think those are going to be? Are they expensive?
I mean, if
If
it's
it's more than
NFL sponsored, yeah. No, I
$35.
think it's more.
You think?
I have-
35?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, we'll look into this. This is obviously the thing that people want to know. They're not here for any fantasy advice or anything. It's us talking
How
about
about this?
Crocs.
Let me quiz you real quick. Not a quiz, but so I'm looking at the projected point totals from Vegas this week.
Okay.
There's no way you'll guess one of the teams in the top 3.
In
So
the top 3?
yeah,
I know it's not my
it's not.
It's
There's
not my
one
Seahawks.
surprising team in there. You're like, what? I mean, one should be obvious.
One surprising team?
Yeah, in the
oh
top
my-
3 for this week.
Is it the Giants Chiefs?
No, I'm looking at
What is
one team's projection for total points.
Who? Colts, Titans?
The Bears are third.
Really?
That's how bad the Cowboys defense is.
Oh
The
my
Bears are
gosh.
projected for
I should have
26
known when you were
points. The
talking.
Bills are 1 and the Ravens are 2. And then the Bears are
Really?
third.
Huh.
So I guess
Well,
that means start your Bears this week and
well,
Caleb Williams.
except for Colston Loveland. It's
Well, no, that would not be one of them.
Colston Loveland, Luther Burden. You have to wait on those guys. But wow, that's
You might have to wait a whole year at this point.
Man, brutal. That's crazy. The third highest total projected for
Yes.
the week?
Mhm.
Wow. I mean, it's good for us with the Cowboys defense being that bad.
It's
to be
kind of good
honest.
for me because a lot of leagues that I have fields, I have Caleb Williams. So
Mm.
if there's any week to start Caleb Williams, it's this one in this matchup. I mean, the offense has been fine.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm surprised Caleb Williams is kind of lower in our consensus rankings here.
Yeah, I haven't put mine. I'm uploading mine after the show today, but I saw a question earlier. Oh man, where did it go? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Drake May. This is from Ron. Shout out to Ron for listening to us. But he has Drake May and Caleb Williams. Which one would? And I have the same in one league. I also have the same dilemma, and I feel like that's kind of close.
It is very close. I lean Drake May.
I do
And
too.
we talked about the Pittsburgh defense has just not played well. They have injuries too. Joey Porter Jr. was out this past week. So I lean Drake May. He ran more this past week too, but I think it's close. I think they are both excellent plays this week. I mean, Caleb Williams, again, when you see that projected total for Vegas, and again, Russell Wilson threw for 450 on Dallas. Like,
Yeah.
come on. So I know Dallas's defense played fairly well week 1, but let's also keep in mind there was the weather delay and also Jalen Hurts doesn't pass the ball. So
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing as last year. Oh my gosh.
I want to say that it will get better, and I think it will. But yeah, the first 2 weeks have it. Remember too, they have the new offensive coordinator as well, and the offense has not been as creative. And but look, AJ Brown's going to blow up if this continues. He can't now because they're
Yes, he
winning.
should.
But I see it, like you could see it's boiling, and if this, it's tough because they won the Super Bowl last year and they're 2-0 now. So
that's the thing. They're
it would
winning
not
with the way
be
that they're playing.
it would not be a good look. But I'm sorry, they don't even pass the ball or try to get him the
No.
ball. So
No. But the bad part for us, the good part in just regular in the NFL is that, like you said, they're winning. So they're not going to change their ways yet. But yeah, you can tell the frustration. Maybe we need to send him another book. Should we, one of our favorite books for halftime, just say,
I think so,
right in the center and say, sorry.
hopefully
We
the
still-
Rams could give them a
still
game
like
this
you.
week. Remember they did last year in the postseason.
I know. I'm hoping so, but you just don't know with that team. By the way, these Crocs are expensive.
I
They are
figured.
not. Oh my gosh, did you $80?
I told you it was no
80?
35.
30? Well, I don't know.
I mean, look, wait a
the
second.
charm things are like
If you could pay
35.
$40 for hot dogs, you can double that for some shoes that last longer.
Hopefully our CEO isn't listening, but I expensed that. I put that in as a dinner expense. That's expensive. $80 for Crocs. Is that usually how anyway?
I don't know.
if
You're
someone
asking the wrong
listening-
person.
Well, I know you have Crocs. You're just
I
not wanting to
don't.
admit it right now. That's the thing. Everyone knows that. You just don't want to answer my question. Someone tell me if that's the regular price that you usually pay for these, because I see a lot of people.
So
wearing
these are
those. That's
specifically for the NFL ones?
Yeah, Crocs with NFL
Okay.
coming soon. NFL collection coming soon. They look cool. No, I can't do it. Okay. Anyways, yeah, it's we have them close together, Drake May, Caleb Williams, but I'm going Drake May to start, and maybe as the week goes on, maybe I change that up. But right now, I'm gonna have him higher in my rankings for week 3. Next up here in the water cooler, again going through some of the pieces of news that we saw, a little bit of notes. Talking about a note here from Christian McCaffrey. Third player in NFL history with 50 rushing touchdowns, 30 receiving touchdowns. This is more just a shout out to Christian McCaffrey and what he's done to start the season. Listen, we're 2 weeks in, but I know you have no shares and I only have shares in best ball. I was not willing. I just did not want to take the risk when you're looking at some of the redraft teams that I'm in, but shout out to him and what he's been able to do and look like so far to start the season.
Yeah, only 3.5 yards per carry so far. But again, the volume is insane. I mean, 50 touches through the first 2 weeks. So again, the other side of that is, okay, you love these big workloads, but is he going to be able to hold up? So yeah, if you took McCaffrey in the first round, now you're feeling good. But again, there are way too many victory laps in assumptions, not just McCaffrey, like so many players. I see it now. Like, oh, I was right on this guy. We're not right on
Not
anything. It's
yet.
only 2
No.
games, man. Like, relax. Let's let the season play out first, because we know how this works. You declare victory, and then in 3 weeks you look like a fool.
Yeah,
So,
you have to wait. No
and
victory lapping yet.
and we're all gonna get stuff right and wrong. That's the bottom line. So, so far, look, it's all for me. It's basically health with McCaffrey. No one doubts what McCaffrey can do on the field. Like, if you told someone, "Hey, McCaffrey's gonna stay healthy the entire year," we would all take him early first round. I think the
Yeah.
biggest concern is, and what's insane is that everyone else of the 49ers is dropping, and McCaffrey is the healthy one right now.
Who would have thought we would have said that going into going into week 3, but it's good, and you're loving it right now, right? It's just one of those things where you are so happy as a manager right now, and that's all that matters, because this is what you did want to see. And again, I said this stat yesterday, but Achan, excuse me, Devon Achan ranks 4th in utilization score, and he's trailing only CMC. CMC is leading in target share to start the season. So with their injuries and everything happening over there for the 49ers, you're just happy to see McCaffrey out there and staying healthy. So
Do you know?
hopefully, yeah.
Do you know who has the most total points at running back in PPR
Oof,
formats? Actually, most
no.
total points in average per game.
Most total points and average per game. Is it not Achan?
No,
Who?
he is 5th in points per game.
Who?
James
Tell me.
Cook.
Oh, yeah. It's because we talked about him all offseason about
Oh
regression.
boy,
He was
yeah,
listening.
that one looks
Friend of the
pretty
show.
bad so far.
I mean, listen, I only took him one place. But he's looking good. I think someone told me that he's on pace to break, to have more touchdowns than last season if he keeps up what he's doing
Yeah,
right now.
three for through 2 games. So, yeah, look,
So,
to me it was all about the volume. And so he had 5 receptions week 1, but I think and Matthew Berry talked about it. That week 1 skewed everything. I mean, 81 points. And look what it did for Keon Coleman. People got excited, and then you saw what Buffalo does typically last week. So Cook had 5 receptions in that game. He only had 1 last week. He did have 21 carries. I mean, no one doubts Cook's talent. It's just 207 carries last year was my concern. So we'll see if that continues. But when McCaffrey and Achan, you love their involvement in the passing game. I mean, McCaffrey has 15 receptions through 2 games. And with Achan, it's the same thing. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see them get as many carries. Achan has 18 carries through the first 2 games, but he has 11 receptions and 14 targets. And that's going to continue this week. Tomorrow, they're on the road at the Bills.
oof.
Achan's going to catch a ton of passes in that game.
I mean, the attempts though for James Cook are up too, from 52% to 60% year over
Yeah.
year. That's the other part too, because we knew that Cook is talented. It was going to be talented, but the near lock that we talked about for regression was that we said, okay, if the Bills ever do give him 65% of the snaps, then he would offer this top 6 upside the rest of the way. So to see it year over year, that's the other part that you hope with James Cook, that it sticks from 52% to 60% of his attempts. Like that's
I
good for him.
wonder if they did that intentionally last year to lower his cost for a contract.
But
where
then
they
he was
said-
able to just go
And they
off
were
with
like,
it.
oh, wow, he was so efficient and scored these touchdowns. Now we have to pay him. And now that he's paid, like, yeah, you still want to be smart about it, because, again, they're all about winning the Super Bowl. So you don't want to
Yes.
overwork this guy in the in the regular season. But there were some comments that said they were going to employ the backfield same way as last year,
Yeah.
even after he signed the contract.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting point, because I mean, but the way that he played last year, he scored on 7.7% of his attempts.
Right.
It
So
was just
again,
nuts.
if people were like, oh, just laughing at that regression, I mean, those numbers, again, there's always outliers. So maybe he does it again at 7%. Maybe this offense is so good that he can repeat it, and they go through the ground so much. Again, it's only 2 weeks, but so far, Cook looks like one of the better values, because he was often going in round 4 of drafts. I don't remember, did he fall to round 5 before
I
signing
don't
the
think-
contract?
I don't
It was
think
mostly round
so.
4.
Yeah. I don't think he fell that much because the expectations were that he was going to get signed. It felt
Yeah.
like it was going to happen on both sides. You were just a little bit worried if there was the holdout situation in the offseason. But listen, shout out to James Cook, another guy that's doing obviously really well to start the season, and hopefully he's able to continue that. Let's go out to the phone lines now. 888-963-2682, or press that new calling button on the Sirius XM app. We are here to answer as many questions as we can. So let's get out to Ryan in New Mexico. Ryan, what do you got for us?
Hey, thank you guys for taking the call. I am a casualty of Joe Burrow, so this week and full PPR. Do you go Browning, Mac Jones, or Drake May?
Oh, that's
Drake
easy.
May.
Yeah.
Drake May. If
That's
you
a
can pick
layup.
him up, he shouldn't be available. But if he is for whatever reason, yeah, pick him up, and then I'd go Browning, Mac Jones, right? Because the thing with
Yeah.
Mac Jones is like if you're looking to stream, then okay, Mac Jones is a conversation that we can have this week because who are they playing this week?
Arizona. They're home to Arizona.
So the thing is though that we expect Brock Purdy to be back. It's not a Joe Burrow situation. The timeline was at minimum 2 weeks. And so after that, you kind of have to be careful. But yeah, Drake May's inside our top 10, where is he this week? Top 8.
Yeah.
Consensus QB8 on the week, taking on Pittsburgh. So appreciate you calling in, Ryan. Definitely go with Drake May there. Let's go out to James in California. Ooh, shout out California. We always get the New York guys. We got California out here. James, what do you got for us?
I'm 0-2, need a win. I need to start 2, at least 4 receivers at PPR between McLaurin, Ridley, Jameson Williams, and Pittman.
Who was the first one?
McLaurin.
McLaurin.
So
okay.
Terry McLaurin, Pittman, Ridley, Jameson Williams. I think Ridley starts to do better here in these next few weeks. But what do you think here, Adam?
Yeah, I hope so for sure.
Shares.
I
need
think.
to look at that.
Well, McLaurin, I think, is in there, and Ridley.
Yeah, we Ridley needs to do better, but I do think that happens, right? Ridley has just been someone to start the season that you haven't been necessarily happy about, but the matchups we also haven't loved for the Tennessee Titans. So everyone knows that we've got a good amount of Calvin Ridley shares, but starting the year off when you're going up against, some tough teams.
Surtain was the first week.
Yeah. And then the Rams.
Yeah, those are 2 tough matchups.
But they have the Colts at home this week, and then they take on the Texans, Cardinals, Raiders. So.
And it looks like Jameson's going to be the same issue that we dealt with last year, where there will be games where he gets limited targets and breaks a long one like he did this past week. Because, again, he had 4 targets and 2 for 108 and a touchdown in a game they put up 52. And then we saw week 1, 4 for 23 on 5 targets. So we had heard in the offseason that they were loving Williams, that they're going to get more plays downfield for him.
He got paid.
Yeah, so it seems like it's going to be the same frustration with him. Where, again, last year he did finish 25 in points per game in PPR formats, but the path to get there is going to be a little bumpy, where some weeks you'll see him just not involved much, and then, the explosive plays. So it can be frustrating with him.
Oh, for sure. I looked at my exposure to him a couple weeks ago, and I didn't take much of him, but it was more of a Jared Goff conversation than it was a Jameson Williams, because the talent is there. That you can't look at Jameson Williams and say he's not talented enough to come down and be a top receiver for fantasy football. But it was more for me, not only just the offense, but a Goff conversation more than anything. Let's continue. Let's go out to Mike in Florida. Mike, what do you got for us?
I appreciate it. I have an pending trade that I want to offer, and I'm a weak. I consider myself weak in quarterback and running backs. I've got Hubbard and I've got Brees Hall, and I've got Jared Goff as my quarterback. And I just pounded this guy. I had 190 points because I had Goff and I had Amon St. Brown and Neighbors. So I'm good in my wide receivers. So I want to offer Goff, David Montgomery, Njoku, and Deebo Samuels for Josh Allen and Kamara and Palmer.
Wow, that's a lot. All right, Mike. So you're offering Jared Goff, Montgomery, You have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Debo's been good though, Adam. That's the
Yeah.
other part. Debo's looked really good. You might not giving up too much, but Debo's looked good. David Njoku, I understand, for getting in return Josh Allen, Alvin Kamara, and Joshua Palmer. Would you do that?
At first I was leaning no, but then look, if it seems like Montgomery's a bench piece, you're trading him a week after he scores a touchdown. Njoku, that means I'm assuming you have a good tight end. Like you said, Debo, but you're going to have to give up something to get Josh Allen. It's not too bad. Because essentially you're doing this, though, really, for Josh Allen.
Mhm.
It's not too bad. I mean, Kamara, we know the deal. He's going to be okay. The concern I have with Alvin Kamara, if this team is as bad as we think it is, do they shut him down when you need him in playoff weeks?
But that's playoff weeks.
Right,
yeah.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
later
Like,
on.
yeah, and the play
Yeah.
this. I mean, I guess he was legitimately hurt last year when they shut him down, but they have him signed, and this team is going nowhere this year. So that would be the concern with him. I don't know. I hate trading for quarterbacks, but I mean, he said he had Neighbors, St. Brown. I don't think the running backs are that bad. I mean, Breece Hall, yes, he's coming off a down game, but we know the Jets want to run the football, and they'll be down weeks like last week. They went against Buffalo. Hubbard's been fine so far.
Hubbard had a good week too in utilization.
I'm okay making the trade.
Okay.
Again, Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. It's the one thing, but you're right. If Mike said he has good receivers, because the only thing I didn't like here was Palmer. But if you already have good starting receivers, Palmer is a depth piece, guy on your bench, so you don't have to worry about it. So that was the only thing that I didn't like. But if you're trying to trade for Josh Allen, this is probably what you have to do to get it. So you give up Goff off a really good week, Montgomery too. Debo's looked good as well, and then we've talked about Harold Fannin maybe potentially taking over. David Njoku's in a contract year, so okay. I like it.
Because you're really. It feels like you're not giving up much. I mean, Debo's been good, and I like him, but he's probably I don't know the third or fourth receiver on a team. I guess the starting lineup would be key too. So yeah, maybe we do need a little bit more detail, but from the surface, I'm fine making this deal.
All right, I like it. Appreciate you calling in, Mike. Appreciate everyone calling in. We're going to continue taking your, taking your phone calls throughout the show. Gonna go through a little buy low, sell high situation. I think this is a good time of the season. It's early, Adam. Some teams are 0-2, like we talked about. Some teams 2-0. Who should you be buying right now? Who could you be potentially selling that you want to get out of their situation before it's too late here? We're gonna give you some names, including Rashee Rice, talking about Tony Pollard as well, coming up here next. All right, as always, appreciate everyone hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. Going to continue taking your questions here. If you have them, make sure you send them in at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X if you have them. Wanted to go through, a little go hard, go home players that we're buying and selling here, presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Again, it's Mike's Hard Lemonade. We talk about this. They have bold flavors over there. It's the official drink talking about go hard, go home for their leagues. Guys that I want to know, Adam, if we think they're going to continue going hard for your team, or if you have to look at them and say, you know what, it's time to send them home, it's time to send them somewhere else, because I just don't think they're going to continue giving me fantasy output. Again, this is presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. So I want to start with one that I actually saw a lot of conversation on, and that's James Conner. If you're looking at a James Conner situation right now and saying, okay, we knew coming into this season, and I still took him. I still liked James Conner, but he even said, we've had this conversation before, that Trey Benson was going to be involved in this offense. And so you say, okay, well, how much is he going to be involved? What is that going to look like? I think if you're deep enough at the running back position and can afford to deal him away for something, you get something nice in return. Maybe this is the time to do so. But I'm curious what you think on here, what the stats look like for you, and if you're willing to sell Conner right now.
I'd be worried if I had Conner right now, because one of the appeals of Conner was his volume, and that has definitely decreased, and he's getting less involved in the passing game, which is a problem. So we're seeing Benson 3 targets a game, Conner 2.5. So the snaps are getting a lot closer. Week 2, it was 52 to 48. Mm-hmm. Benson involved more in passing situations, 2-minute drills. So that's a problem for Conner. I did not draft him this year. And every year, people who have passed on Conner have been burned because he's been really good. But it looks like it is finally changing here. Conner is 30 years old. Benson in his second year. And again, they talked about this as a possibility, and it is happening right now. And the other part that is disturbing is Connor is just 3.2 yards per carry and what
Yeah.
looked to be two good matchups. Like I thought this past week, Carolina, we saw Carolina allow the most fantasy points per game to running backs last season. They got shredded in week 1 by Jacksonville, and Connor was only able to muster up 11 for 34. Now he did get a touchdown and 1 catch for 18 yards. So yeah, this is concerning. So I would be selling Connor. I don't know what you can get for him because almost everyone sees this as well. But
I think you could get, what if I told you Tony Pollard? Because he hasn't looked that good to start. And I might, to people that might be a 1-for-1, they might say, well, I'm selling someone and buying something that looks kind of the same. But to me, Tony Pollard has had some tough, we just talked about their tough matchups, but and we still have the IR stint going on when we're looking at the running back room. So I think, what about Tony Pollard?
I'd rather have him. I do think you could see Tajay Spears get involved when he returns. He's eligible week 5. Pollard already has 38 carries. The one thing we're not seeing Cam Ward check down. Pollard has 2 targets, 1 catch for 29 yards. So you would like to see that more. But yeah, even if Pollard's touches shrink a little bit when Spears comes back, I feel better about him.
Okay. Go hard or go home. We're going through it. Presented here by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Is he going to go hard when he comes in, Rashee Rice, for the Chiefs when he comes back to the field? Or do you think that that's someone where you're saying, I don't necessarily want to buy him right now? We had this conversation at the top of the show. If you are 2-0, I think it is a good time right now. The first 3 weeks of the season, when people start to get just a little bit desperate, like you said, if you have a team in your league that's 0-2 or after this week becomes 0-3, they want to win at any means necessary. And if that means getting rid of guys like Rashee Rice, who has the potential to be a league winner down the stretch, so they can get fantasy points more immediately, then they're going to be able to do that. So I think Rashee Rice for me is a go hard candidate that you want to go hard for them and start to try and buy them for, it depends on the price, right? They're gonna want something in return. But to me, if you're 2-0, if you've got a good start going on, he's someone that you can put on your bench. Like, I'd be looking into that.
Yeah, there's a lot here because usually if someone drafted Rice in round 5 or round 6, they clearly are very high on him and they had every intention to wait through the suspension and get him back. But sometimes the plans don't go the way you want. And maybe I would try it this week for that 0-2 team, especially if you know they're panicking, because it just happens. We see it with a lot of people. I don't care if I'm 0-2 right now because it's only 2 weeks. We've had a lot of things happen that weren't expected, some teams struggling, and we've seen this every year in the NFL. It turns around. So I'm that calm, collective guy where, okay, if I'm 0-2, I'm not panicking right now. But we know a lot of people do. We get all the questions on social media, and the trades are flowing. So if you are in a situation where things are good, you're pretty healthy, and you see that team with Rice that's 0-2 and you sense panic, yeah, I would absolutely be sending the offers. And especially after this week, if that team with Rice is 0-3, they are really going to panic. And what happens is when a team is 0-3, they basically look at week 4 as a must win, and Rice is not helping them. So you might be able to acquire him cheaply. So I think it's very smart to do that. I think you should do that all rosters, any 0-2, 0-3 team, especially if you know that they're the type of person who panics, you should be looking to take good players off their roster that have started slowly, and especially if you're 2-0, 3-0. So I think it's key. That's how you can really bolster your roster and turn it into a championship contender.
Yeah, I think Rashee Rice is definitely going to go hard when he's able to come back after
They
that
need him
suspension.
badly at this point.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and the other part of that is that they're going to need him. The Chiefs right now, and again, he's not back for a few more weeks, but the Chiefs starting at 0-2, they're going to have to light a fire under themselves, right? And they're going to have to say, hey, I think they're going to be an aggressive mindset the whole rest of the way, but especially when Rashee Rice gets back, to just be able to put themselves in better standings. If Xavier or Worthy is able to come back, I feel the same way about him. But when you're starting 0-2 for a team that only has Super Bowl expectations for themselves and the organization, like they're going to be aggressive once he gets back, once they get some of these guys back. So I think you're going to want him no matter what. That's the other part of it. Go hard or go home. Are you going to buy Josh Jacobs? I think Josh Jacobs is going to go hard here in this situation. Through 2 games, he's averaging 14.2 points per game. But he's getting all of the work. That's the other part of this. 82% snap share. He has shared a little bit in the receiving game, but he's got a 54% route participation when we look at him. He's someone that I think is profile, like the profile right now and what he's giving you is less than what I expect him to give you the rest of the way. I think we should expect more 20 points per game options here for the rest of the way. So that's why I think he's going to go hard. And maybe, I don't know if you'll be able to buy him, in a low situation, because I think his managers probably know what's coming for him. But I really like looking at Josh Jacobs as someone to get.
I mean, the volume is there on a good team. I would like to see him more involved in the passing game. I mean, part of it, I guess, has been the game script. Yeah, 1 target in 2 games. So that's like Derrick Henry-esque, but he's like Derrick Henry now, where he's scoring a touchdown every single game.
Yeah.
Started the season with a touchdown in each game, only averaging 3.6 yards per carry. But we saw that last year. He was better at 4.4, but the volume, 301 carries, and he's been able to handle these workloads too. I mean, he's been a good fit there in Green Bay. So it's a good offense, and it feels like he's going to score a lot of rushing touchdowns once again, and an offense that leans on him. They're passing a little bit more, but they've also been comfortably ahead where they've been able to run him. And like you said, there's no one cutting into his carries right now. And that was the same thing last year where they had no one else and they gave him 301 carries. So you just want to see more involvement in the passing game to raise that floor a little bit. But if you're scoring touchdowns every week and you're getting 20 carries, then I guess it's not a problem.
Man, it feels like they could be in comfortable leads for a while, though. The Packers with that schedule.
Yeah, but we know how this goes. It'll change. They'll get some competitive games. The first 2 games were at home, at Cleveland, at Dallas, home to the Bengals, at the Cardinals. Maybe the Steelers' defense is better when they play them. They get the Eagles in there, the Lions, the Bears. The division is tough.
Yeah,
so.
divisional game's different, but yeah, I still like it though for Josh Jacobs. Here's a fun stat. Shout out to Dwayne McFarland. Last year, Josh Jacobs averaged 10.8 points over the first 4 games, and then he went off. He averaged 19.8 points from week 5 through the fantasy championship in week 17. So it's one of those things where we could probably see that getting ready to happen again. So I think he is going to go hard. But that was buy low, sell high. We're looking at go hard or go home here, presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Because as always, Adam, we always want to go hard for our fantasy football teams, just like Mike's Hard Lemonade does. So as always, we love doing this kind of segment here. We're going to continue on. I want to go through rankings, early rankings like we've talked about here for week 3. I see some start sit questions as well, or just some trade waiver wire questions. We are definitely going to get to those, but we're going to do early rankings here coming up next. You already know it. You're in the right place right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X, taking any and all questions for you heading into week 3. Little bit of an update, probably not a great update that we want for Jayden Daniels, but something we are still monitoring. Per Nikki Javala, she tweeted a few minutes ago saying that Marcus Mariota will talk at the podium today, not Jayden Daniels. If Daniels is not ruled out Friday, he'll talk then. She also made a comment saying that the Commanders took the same approach last season, Adam, ahead of that Bears game when Jayden Daniels had that rib injury. And she said, we kind of all know how that one ended. So just something to be careful of. If you have Jayden Daniels, again, we said this yesterday, hopefully you went to the waiver wire. You didn't need to spend, here's the thing. It's really difficult because people are spending a lot of money on Browning and some of the other guys, but there are other options where if you just need a streamer for 1 week, you can go and get him, but it's not a great update that we like for Jayden Daniels and his injury right now.
Yeah, that was the tough part this week, is that you knew people were spending a lot of money on the waiver wire for quarterbacks, especially if you have Joe Burrow. With Jayden, it's like we don't know he might not miss any time. He might be back this
Yeah.
week, but you still had to do something. So you could have done it on the cheap. Hey, you could have gotten Mariota for $1, right? I don't think many other people were bidding on him unless in a super flex league. So, it's not the end of Daniels playing this week. As alluded to in that report, this was done last year too. So we'll see. But again, if you do have Jayden Daniels, make sure you have a replacement. Hopefully you did yesterday, or if your waivers runs tonight, just make sure you have someone in case he can't go.
Yeah, it's not great, but like you said, there are others out there. I mean, you can just pick up Marcus Mariota and hope that if he goes in there that he plays well enough. I got a message here from Sandy saying that she has McCarthy waivers run at noon. Probably won't get Browning because of the other teams. Asked about Wentz. We haven't talked about Wentz. He was not someone that I necessarily recommended. I just think there are better out there, don't you?
There
than going
should
with
be,
Carson Wentz.
especially in leagues that start only one quarterback. Even if everyone has a backup, I would think there are better options this week. I know it's Cincinnati, but I think there are better quarterbacks to start over him.
Yeah, I'd hope so. So hopefully you can still go look at that. I will say, talking about early rankings, I know some people have questions already on week 3, and we're going to look through some of those. Sam Darnold right now, our consensus QB 20. So again, maybe if you're not in some leagues are deep, right? Deeper leagues for us, some aren't. So that's why we always want to make sure we talk through, maybe you don't need to get Daniel Jones. Maybe someone else is out there on the waiver wire. But Sam Darnold, for what it's worth, as a Seattle Seahawks fan, he's got PFF's third highest grade. He's their third highest graded quarterback this season. And we've talked about him with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, he's really been locked in on him. So that's a good role for JSN that we were hoping would happen. Not really anyone stepping up as the two. We saw we had Cooper Kupp sighting in week 2, but Sam Darnold will just say that QB 20. Not again, more super flex formats than anything else, but if you're in a pinch and he's out there, maybe he's also someone you could look at.
Yeah, going up against the Saints, who have allowed an average of 2.5 passing touchdowns per game. So yeah, as a 1 week plug-in, if he's there, might not be the worst option.
Might not be.
Unless Seattle just runs wild on them.
Which they could.
Yeah.
Realistically, they could. Are you, speaking of that, but we can talk about this with rankings or whatever, but Kenneth Walker, after what we saw last week, it feels like, is this going to be a flip-flop ping-pong situation the whole time? Are we going to talk 1 week and say, okay, look at this, it's Zach Charbonnet, then the next week? I mean, for what it's worth, though, Zach Charbonnet did get more of the work. He just didn't do anything with it.
Right.
Kenneth Walker looked really good in that game. I don't have it. No, I do have it in front of me. I'm prepared. I'm ready for the show. It was true, though. Zach Charbonnet had more work in that game, but yeah, Kenneth Walker was able to come away and just looked really good in all the comparisons that they had with him.
He should be. Look, last week they were ranked closely together. I think this week you've got to put Walker considerably higher. But is this going to remain a committee is the question. I think you really want to see it go in the favor of Walker this week. And based on what we saw last week, he deserves it. That's what we thought going into the year. He's the more explosive runner. So you have to hope that if you have Kenneth Walker, you're hoping that this starts to go in his direction more, where you don't mind Charbonnet being involved, but you want to see Kenneth Walker get the bulk of the touches.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's not, both of them right now are not great in fantasy. Let's just say that. But you hope that Kenneth Walker pulls away. That's what you want. Or opposite if you're Zach Charbonnet manager, because when you look at him, 9.2 points per game for Walker, 8.1 points per game for Zach Charbonnet. And it's one of those things where it's right. It's a split. So we'll see if it breaks away anytime.
So Kenneth Walker acknowledged that it's going to be a split continuing going forward. So, and even Mike McDonald said, we're playing the long game. We want both backs to play the whole year. And apparently Walker stated that he's buying into that approach as well. So,
I mean, that's what we talked about, though, in the
That's
offseason.
not what you want to see, though, for fantasy.
Not.
Because as good as Walker was last week, right, it still was only 13 carries, and he broke off a long run, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if it's going to be like 13 touches for 1, 12 for 1, that's going to be a problem, because you're going to need Walker to have one of these backs to have a long run, or be very efficient. I mean, Walker averaged 8.1 yards per carry last week. That's not going to happen every single week. And he only had one catch for 13 yards. So it's still a problem
It is.
going forward. But I would have Walker ranked over Charbonnet this week.
But man, it's just the back and forth though, because last week I had Sharps ranked ahead of Kenneth Walker. So that's the one thing that it feels like you're just going to have to go back and forth every single week, and they're going to remain close. But that's the other thing that we talked about in the offseason, Adam, where we said, okay, what if they do limit or bring back Kenneth Walker's workload because they want him to stay healthy the whole season? That was the other part of it, where they just say, you know what, we can't risk you being out for two games, even it's up to 6 games. 6 games was what he had last season. So they just say, we're going to split this work and hope that it helps our team.
I don't know. I really don't see a big difference between 14 and 18 touches. Like, I don't know if that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if that's going to preserve health long term.
They're going to try it. They're going to.
But the other thing though, that's Charbonnet. He has no targets in 2 games,
Yes.
so that's why you've got to put Walker higher. He should be more involved in the passing game. Boy, if you started Charbonnet last week, you got 1 point.
Brutal. He got you chopped. He's not someone that's probably played enough, but I was going to maybe bring him up with Church yesterday for someone that maybe got you chopped.
I didn't.
Really
he was not on my list only because I don't see the majority starting him. You're right.
Exactly.
Like maybe 50, 60% people started him. But you have to, when you're looking at like that top 10 chop, they have to be started in at least 90 to 95%.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I'm just thinking about my guillotine leagues with Joe Burrow. That league where I paid money last week. Gosh, that's just the worst.
It's all right. You just got to move on. And again, it's
pay
all
more money.
No, it's not that. It's all about surviving the week, and then more quarterbacks will be dropped, and then you'll pick them up. Again, that's the thing. You have to remember with guillotine leagues, people forget, you don't need to be the highest scoring team of the week. You just don't want to be last. You can be second to last, third to last. It could look ugly. Just survive the week. Teams will get chopped and other players will emerge.
I know, but it's still brutal spending the money.
You know this, and yet you are still have that impulsive need to buy, but you won't buy Crocs.
No, I'm not going to. $85 Crocs. There's a line, Adam. There's a line, and I'll pay.
But you'll throw $300 at quarterbacks in guillotine leagues every week.
I paid like $2 something for it. Yeah, I did pay a lot of money, and I'm gonna do it again, Adam. I hope that my waivers go through today, and I get someone else like a Josh. I think Josh Allen was on the waiver wire. We're gonna keep going. Crocs. I can't. $85. You're gonna pay that?
No.
Okay. Okay, I believe you. Evolving backfields. We're talking through the Giants, what this could look like going forward, talking about the Browns as well, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to go through that. More of your questions here coming up next. All right, we got a little bit of breaking news here, and it's not good, Adam. It looks like if you are a Justin Fields manager, you are actually going to be without him for week 3. So it looks like, per multiple reports coming out of practice today, Justin Fields is out for Sunday, I guess, according to head coach Aaron Glenn. Tyrod Taylor is going to get the start against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, not good, Adam. You and I said this in the break, and again, we know that he's going to be out for Sunday. It was a concussion that we were hoping that he was going to get out of the protocol. So ruling him out this early, though, is, again, not a good sign. We always want to be cautious. If you pick someone up, though, maybe anticipate 2 weeks. But again, we're definitely talking about 1 week here for Justin Fields. He is going to be out on Sunday, but he's been ruled out pretty early in the week.
Yeah, to be ruled out here on a Wednesday, you usually don't see that with concussions. Again, they are tricky. Some players return that week. Other players miss multiple weeks, sometimes longer. So, yeah, if you do have Fields, at least you have the clarity early. But again, if waivers ran yesterday and you had Fields, you had to have a replacement in mind. I have Fields in many leagues.
Yeah.
So I appreciate at least we know he's out early. Hopefully he's okay. I would like to see him back the following week. But, yeah, I'm surprised. You usually don't see this because remember, there's several steps that you have to go through concussion protocol, and maybe he didn't even surpass step 1 yet or something. I don't know. But yeah, I would believe, like you said, I think you do want to prepare now for him to potentially sit next week as well. I don't remember Justin Fields having a concussion before. Do you? I mean, I don't. I don't know if he has a history of it.
I don't think he does because we haven't really seen him. He hasn't been out there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's last year. It was 6 games with the Steelers, and he was
Yeah,
able to do
so
that. So if he has, I can't remember. But it's like you said, it's not good. So Justin Fields again going to be out for week 3. We got that breaking news coming down just a few minutes ago. So if your waivers have already run, again, like Adam said, like you said, Adam, I hope that you were able to go and pick someone up. If they haven't yet, I would maybe, if you have bids in right now, maybe try and spend a little bit more here because again, we just don't like how early this is, and we hope that we're wrong too. This is all just speculation on going into week 4. But he doesn't really have a known, from our producer Tim Shoutout, doesn't have a known concussion history. But it's one of those things where, yeah, maybe spend a little bit more on guys that you can hopefully have for a couple weeks now, maybe. Ugh, not good. I've got a Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy team, so I'm spending.
Is a guillotine so you can spend $400?
No, well, I wish I would. Honestly, I probably would spend $400, but yeah, you go out trying Jake Browning. You've got guys that you can go and get. That's the thing this week, but a lot of people are going to need them, so just kind of up those bids a little bit.
Yeah, several teams in need of quarterbacks this week. Now, those with Fields, there might be some people who have Fields as their number 2. I have seen some teams like that. I know in the leagues I drafted him, it was as a 1. So you have him, you have the Joe Burrow managers, Jayden Daniels potentially, at least looking for him. Brock Purdy, they probably replaced them last week, but yeah, and JJ McCarthy, again, I don't think he was a starter in many leagues, but certainly in Superflex leagues, he was probably your QB2. So yeah, a lot of needed quarterbacks. So if your waivers have not run yet, then just maybe prepare for a potential 2-week absence for Fields. Again, we don't know. Concussions are so tricky. You have to go through these steps, and apparently for them to rule them out so quickly means maybe steps 1 and 2 were very slow.
Yeah, it's not good. What do you think? Hey, Tyrod Taylor, he hasn't gotten a start since 2023 with the Giants. Is he viable for you, or
I
we haven't
look
really
to go in a
mentioned
different
him?
direction against Tampa. And again, he has one weapon in Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Disappointing news, but we'll continue to break that down. Keep it locked right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You've got RotoWire Fantasy Sports Today coming up next. We'll see you here same time tomorrow. Have a great day.